it's a great investment. Honestly, it's going to do really, really well. 9 out of 10 watch brands are going to lose you money. Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Brendan. Great to see you here. And today I'm going to talk about, are watches great investments? And I don't even have a watch on today because I'm going to show you some pieces that just might be decent investments. So let's get into this video. So there's so much talk online about watches are great investments, buy a Rolex, buy a Patek, whatever it is. And in this video, I'm going to totally break that down. Are they? Where should you put your money? And really what the whole watches as investment argument is all about. So when you look at pure monetary values, I went into ChatGPT, as we all do these days, because it's like a Mensa qualified virtual assistant, right? And I asked ChatGPT the increase in values in the last 50 years of a Rolex Submariner, a Rolex GMT, and a Rolex Daytona in steel. And the average increase, I mean, back in the 70s, you could buy a Submariner for £250, somewhere around that. And the average increase in value over that period of time has been around about 7.5 to 8% a year. And similarly, the Rolex GMT and the Rolex Daytona are in that 7 to 8% mark every single year. So when you look at the values of a Rolex Daytona, a Rolex Submariner, a Rolex sports watch, it does compete with things like the FTSE 100 in the UK, the S&P 500 in the US. Their returns are lower to a little bit higher. You might find 5-6%, you might find 8-9%. It's very, very competitive. So on that basis, you could suggest that investing in a Submariner is as good as investing in the FTSE 100. But there's a lot more to it than that. Because here's the thing, if you buy a Rolex Submariner today on the grey market at the secondary market price point, let's say it's £10,000, you as a buyer, a customer, have to factor in selling that watch. Somebody else is going to need to make a markup off the back of that, okay? So if you want to sell that Rolex Submariner, your 10 grand Rolex, if it increases at 7.8% a year on average, like we've seen historically, then it's going to take a while for a dealer, after they've made their markup, to give you back significantly more than you paid for it. So there's like a premium in there that will go to that dealer. They're going to want to make, I don't know, £1,000 of that 10% off the back of that to move on your watch. So you're going to take that hit. But no doubt about it, if you are in this for the long term and you are going to hold your watches for 10, 20, 30 years, you're going to do okay from Rolex. Other brands, not so much. But really talking about Rolex here, that's the game. That's the watch brand that over 3 to 5 years, you're going to get your money back. Over 5 to 10 years, you're going to make a little bit of money. And over 20, 30, 40 years, you're going to make really, really good money. So the thing with the whole watches as investments, and I'm guilty of this myself, is when you see Rolex watch prices increasing like they did in the COVID bubble where they just went through the roof, really what you're doing is you're giving yourself an excuse to buy the watch. You're justifying the watch through its value, its retention of value and possibilities there. I think a lot of people that buy watches justify that purchase to the other half by, it's a great investment. Honestly, it's going to do really, really well. And the reality is, they don't really make you money for quite a few years. And if there's a big blip like in the COVID era and you buy at a high price point, you're probably going to wait 10 or 20 years just to get your money back from that watch. So my suggestion to you is do not treat watches as investments. Treat them as passion pieces, hobbies that you're passionate about. And if you buy well, you're not going to lose much money in those watches. And in my opinion, value retention is key for a watch collector, because you can't indulge yourself in the hobby to the degree that you might want to if you know that you're going to spend, say, 10 grand on a watch and next week you're going to sell it for 3 or 4 grand because that dealer can only sell it for 5 or 6 grand. And believe me, plenty of watch brands fit that category. The only watch brand that you're pretty safe long-term is Rolex. Patek, sports models, the Nautilus, the Aquanaut, some of the more desirable collectors' pieces in the complications and grand complications. AP, you're looking at the Royal Oak, that is it. And even the Royal Oak, certain models will drop quite quickly. They don't sell as well. They're not as liquid as Rolex. So that doesn't mean you should just buy Rolex because they do really well. Absolutely not. But you need to understand the realities of this. 9 out of 10 watch brands are going to lose you money. There's only one, maybe 2 or 3 that will retain their value long term in a way that you will be able to even remotely consider them as investment. Now let's think about investing, say, 10 grand of your hard-earned money in a Rolex Submariner versus the alternatives. Putting it in the stock market, putting it into something like Bitcoin or gold. No question. Gold has grown by 30% in the last 12 months. Gold will outperform a Rolex Submariner any day of the week. Bitcoin, we've seen incredible returns over the last decade. Whatever you may think about that, that's a different video. But the fact of the matter is, it's got triple-digit returns on a very, very regular basis. Rolexes are never going to give you that. Although there are some pieces, collector's pieces, that will perform very well for you, and we'll talk about that in a second. 80-90% of Rolex watches will not outperform things like gold and Bitcoin and so on and so forth. So be clear about what it is you're actually looking at here. Do you want a Rolex to be worth lots of money in 10 years? Is that your strategy? Probably not. Most people, like me, as a collector, you need to consider value retention of these pieces, but it is about collecting, not pure making money. That's a different scenario altogether, and I would encourage you to be clear in your thinking when you're talking about watches as a passion versus as an investment. So where watches fit is in the category of passion projects and possible passion investments, like, say, wine, cigars, art, that kind of thing. And those sorts of asset classes, you really do need to be buying the right pieces. Because if you buy a piece of art that's not in demand, it's not rare, you will lose money on that. Even if the art dealer tells you it's average this much a year, chances are you will lose money because the art dealer's got to take a commission just like the watch dealer's got to take a commission. Same with rare cigars, same with rare bottles of wine, and so on and so forth. They will perform well, but you have to buy the right pieces. For example, I'm looking at the moment, not sure if it's going to happen, but I'm looking at a big red Submariner and beautiful faded bezel, really perfect example. That watch, I saw it in a dealer in Switzerland, in Geneva, and it was 30,000 Swiss francs. And I would potentially do a part exchange with one of the pieces that I currently own. And that piece is much rarer, more in demand. And there's a good chance that over the next, say, 10 or 20 years, that watch might double in value because it becomes harder for those pieces to be found. There are less of them on the marketplace. They become rarer, so their value will go up and less people will want to sell them. Few of them will get lost, and so on and so forth. So if you're looking at those types of pieces and you've got good advice and good people around you, for sure, those collectible pieces can make you money and be great investments. But for me personally, it's more about the love of the watches rather than the money that you might make. And I stress might make that money when you purchase them and keep them for a while. So I'm going to give you a couple of illustrative examples. I'm going to show you one piece here that actually may or may not be an investment, a good investment, I should say. And it's this one in my collection. It's the Rolex Submariner Hulk. And this is a 2016 edition of this watch in stainless steel. Now, this may or may not be a good investment. For me, it's probably an average investment, but I'll talk you through it. So if you'd have got this watch when nobody wanted it, you could have probably walked into an authorized dealer and bought this for, say, £5,500 and adjust that for euros, dollars, wherever you are in the world. And you'd probably be able to sell that now, circa 10 years later, for around about £13,000 or £14,000 for this piece. So you look at that, you think, yeah, that's way, way, way over doubled its money in that period of time. Great investment. But here's the thing, most people did not buy them at the authorised dealer for £5,500–6,000. Most people, including me, bought it on the grey market, and I bought this piece in around about 2019, I want to say, and I paid £12,000 for this piece. And during the height of the bubble, those times that have gone by when people paid silly money, I could have probably sold it for £20,000. But today, in 2025, I probably get a couple of grand back on this watch. I might get £13,000–14,000 from this watch, which is really decent. I've owned it for 6 or 7 years and I've enjoyed it, and if I wanted to sell it, I'd make a couple of grand on it. That's the Rolex value proposition for sure. But if I'd have had a pure capitalist head on and wanted to invest that £12,000 in the stock market in Bitcoin, my Bitcoin would be worth way more than that, probably 4, 5, 6 times that right now. Stock market would be worth a reasonable amount more right now. So when you compare it in that way, it is not a fantastic monetary investment. But for me, I look at this piece and I think, I'm happy with that. I've really enjoyed this watch. I still love this watch. And over time, I'll probably make a little bit more on it when asset values increase a little bit more and I ever want to trade it or move it on. But for right now, I'm happy with it. And I know that it's worth a little bit more money than I paid for it. Not bad. Here's another watch. This is the very first Rolex Daytona that I purchased. It is the stainless steel bezel. It's around, I think it's a 2011 watch. And I actually part exchanged this for pretty repulsive Hublot Big Bang that I purchased. And I got that pre-owned from Watchfinder, and I decided I couldn't even look at it anymore. I really didn't like it. And I traded it for a Daytona. So I got it on the pre-owned market. And I think I paid 11,000 for this watch, pounds. And I love this watch. I've worn it for over 10 years. It might be my favorite Daytona for more sentimental reasons than anything. But now this watch would probably sell for 18,000 pounds. So I'd get a nice profit on this piece if I wanted to. It's been as high as probably 25,000 in the height of the market. Now it's down back a little bit lower, but again, a really good value. So if you buy good quality Rolex watches on the pre-owned market and you hold them, you generally will do reasonably well. The problem is if you've bought in 2022 or 21 when the prices were super high, now they've dropped, you're holding for a much longer period to get your money back, unfortunately. But the trend, that's the exception to the rule. The rule is that your value will increase over time, so you can definitely get money back on a Rolex watch. The kind of rule is you hold it for 3 or 4 years, you'll get your money back. You hold it for 5 to 10 years, you'll make some money off the watch. And you can see that here with those examples that I've shared. Another example I want to share with you is this one. You might look at that and think that's a Submariner. It's actually not. It's the SD4000 Sea Dweller, 116600 reference. And it's the 40mm ceramic bezel Sea Dweller that they made for a limited run of maybe 3 years before they discontinued this piece and brought the 43mm Sea Dweller out. Another piece that I have owned and no longer own. This watch I really love. It's the Submariner that nobody has. It wears more elegantly, I believe, than current Submariners. It's slightly more slimline, even though it's a little bit thicker. But purely as an investment piece, this watch, I believe, will serve me well. I bought it, might have slightly overpaid for it, but I'm holding it long term. I enjoy the piece, and in the next few years, they will become more sought after, rarer. I think people will be coveting this watch much more than the standard Submariners of the same era because it's a little bit rarer, it wears a little bit different, it's got a bit more of a quirky story behind it. So if you buy slightly different pieces, you have a better chance of long-term growth in the value of those pieces. But the final one I want to share with you is this, and it's the classic Panda Daytona. This is a 2019 edition of this watch. Again, love the watch, highly coveted piece. But the reality is that I bought this in the grey market, I part exchanged it, and I think I would make a loss on this watch now. 2 or 3, maybe 4 years down the line, I would probably make a loss on this piece because when I bought it, the price was high. I don't even like thinking about that. It's almost like an investment portfolio. This one's gone up, this one's gone down, and so on and so forth. But fundamentally, I enjoy wearing the watch. I really like the watch. And that's the priority with any watch purchase for me, is you've got to enjoy the thing. You've got to want to wear it and have fun with it, you know? And I've made tons of mistakes buying watches that I just didn't really think through. The Hublot Big Bang in rose gold was a great mistake. I remedied that by trading it for the Rolex Daytona that has done really well for me, and I've absolutely loved that watch. But Rolex have got it right. They understand the pre-owned market. They know that the pre-owned market gives buyers the confidence to buy new Rolex watches. They know that if you hold those Rolexes, they control the volume in the market, and because they keep increasing their prices at least every year and sometimes 2 to 3 times a year, that drags up the pre-owned market, and the demand for their pieces is so high overall, certainly the sports professionals, that it gives people the confidence to pull the trigger on a brand new Rolex that then becomes a pre-owned Rolex in a few years' time. They've got it nailed. Other brands that do that well are, generally speaking, Patek, brands like FP Journe, and some of the really niche brands that don't produce a lot of watches. But the reason Rolex is just such the giant is because it's a global currency, it's really liquid. You could trade a Rolex in China or a Los Angeles or Europe, get very similar money for it. It's understood, it's tradable, the demand is there for it. You are generally going to be much, much, much safer with Rolex than any other brand. So that pretty much wraps things up for this video. Are watches investments? Well, the answer is it depends on the watch, right? It really does depend on the watch. And if you would like more content on which watches might be good investments versus not good investments, which watches to stay away from, then leave me a comment below. Give me some feedback on this, and any questions you need answering, definitely comment. Or you can email me, and the email will be in the description of this video, and I can create content and help you based off of that. Because at the end of the day, we're going on this journey together. I'm learning every day. I've got people that I learn from, books that I study from, and so on and so forth, and share that with you. But the reality is, and my key point here is, buy what you love, buy sensibly, buy from good quality people. Be prepared that in the short term, you're going to lose money on a piece. In the long term, hopefully you'll be fine. And understand that 90% of watch brands will lose you money unless you're getting a highly coveted collector's piece, and even then you need to be prepared to hold it for a decent amount of time to realize any significant return on that piece, if that is your model. So enjoy your watches, guys. Buy the ones you love, wear them with passion, with love, and when you're ready, move them on and reinvest. And that's the core message. I will see you on the next video. Don't forget to subscribe if you love this content and you want to see more fragrances, watches, lifestyle, travel, all of that kind of stuff. We're on this together, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.